Let me enable the attendance. Eight. Okay, attendance enabled. Is there some issue with WebEx today? Did it work well in the previous classes?
Sir, in the beginning of previous class, it was not connecting for some time.
Because I'm still, hearing the same robotic sounds that come up when WebEx is not fine. Do you guys have a class right now? Like just right now, 9 to 10?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So those who are joining in, please mark your attendance. So I have seen there are a lot of emails. I will reply to them. Actually, I have a very long day today, so I will reply to them as and when I'll get time. Um But one of the questions that I'm seeing very often on the email is that you guys are trying to use Vim, but without actually going through any kind of tutorial. uh, Please don't do that. Okay, Vim is not really that simple, and then you guys are sending me email saying we cannot exit from the editor. That is the classic Vim problem. In fact, let me tell you a joke. uh, so you understand what are random numbers, right? Random characters or random numbers. So there is a joke in computing. How can you produce a string of random characters? Just open Vim and ask the user to exit from it. The user will try everything that he or she could, and then at some point of time the person will simply give up. So this is a kind of joke that if you're using Vim, uh, please understand. You have to go through some basic tutorial. Without that, if you open Vim, you won't be able to come out of it. So uh, if you're not comfortable with Vim, use something like Control C won't work. I'm not sure it. I'm pretty sure Control
That
C will.
escape and then WQ, sir.
Yeah. That is what. So a lot of people are not really, they don't know this, and they are simply trying to use Vim without going through a basic tutorial. That is what I'm saying. That you should please you either use some other editor. Um, yeah, I mean, cat. Yeah, see, cat has its own limitations. Once you press enter, you can't go back. Okay, I mean, so cat is not really a proper editor. uh, you can use Tejas. The only thing is that when you execute the code, it has to be on bash. You can use any editor that you want. Okay, any editor. Okay, I am not forcing anyone to use Vim. Please be very clear with it. I use Vim, but that doesn't mean you are supposed to use Vim. Okay. So please use an editor that suits you. Okay, don't pick up an editor because I use it. No, don't do that. It's up to you. If you want to use Vim, it is really good. I did send you that joke also, right, on the email. So yeah, but it takes time to pick up Vim. Okay, it's not something that you will be able to pick up in one day. It's very different from what any editor you would have used now till now, right? So essentially, you need to know commands to work through Vim, and if you don't know those commands, you are going to find yourself in a very troubling situation. Vim is very powerful, but no, you have to first learn it. This is the issue. And if you are not willing to put that much efforts, it is, a very simple counterpart for Vim is Nano actually. Of course, there are many others that are there, but Nano is the simple editor that you might actually be looking for. So if you are not sure, you can certainly use Nano. But that is what I'm saying. That please don't use Vim if you don't know how to use it. You will be stuck. That is what I'm trying to say. So uh, it's up to you. I'm not discouraging you guys from using Vim, but if you want to use Vim, first learn it. Okay, that is the idea. Otherwise, use any other editor that suits you. Okay, Nano, VS Code, Sublime, whatever it is, it's up to you. The idea is you should know how to run it from the console, from the bash, right? That is the idea. How do you actually write the code? That is not important. Okay, you can use um, any editor that you want. It's just that you should know how to run it from bash. As long as you have that I know I'm fine with it. Okay, so I think the attendance today is not really as much as I expected. It is hovering in the 70 something range. Uh, yeah, I do realize that there is something going on in the institute today. Some verification or something like that is going on. So some of you might actually be busy there. I'm sorry, I mean, but we are already running behind schedule, so we could not have cancelled this class. So anyhow, let's just start. And by the way, from this week onwards, I will pick one shepherd in each session, and that shepherd's responsibility would be to send me an email at the end of the session saying these were the shepherds for the session, because I have to give you guys credit on the YouTube video, and every time I decide to upload I have to simply remember. And I still haven't uploaded the videos for the last week on YouTube because I still have to figure out who were the shepherds. It is there on the Google Drive folder, but it is not there on YouTube. I have to give you guys credit. So from today onwards, I will pick one shepherd at random, and that shepherd is going to write an email and send it to me right after the lecture, saying that these were the shepherds. Okay. Okay, guys. So let us start. Are there any volunteers for today? By the way, we are first discussing the lectures from the previous week, okay? And in the extra class that we have today, we will discuss the lectures for Tuesday, for Monday. But right now, we will discuss the lectures from the previous week. So, this will be lecture 2.3 and 2.4. That is what we are going to discuss. So lecture 2.3 and lecture 2.4, basically uh, introduction to C part 1 and part 2. So we will discuss that today. Any volunteers? Okay, Ayush is one. Ayush, have you volunteered? Have you shepherded before?
No, sir.
Okay, so Ayush is one. Sunny, have you shepherded before? Sunny, have you shepherded before?
No, sir. No, sir.
Sunny, yeah, Sunny is another one. And Ayush, you are the person who will send me the email containing the names of all the of all the shepherds. So Ayush, Sunny, Manish, I think you have done it once, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
We'll wait. We'll see if someone else is there. Rohan, have
Okay,
you
sir.
done it before?
No, sir.
So okay,
No,
so
sir.
Rohan is the third one. Shashank, I think you have done, right?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay, so Shashank is another one. Four, and let me pick one randomly. Hmm. IT plus. So that will be CS2. So that will be after rule number 40. Okay. Oh, it's 41. Aditya Prakash, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Have you been a shepherd before?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Last week, sir.
Okay, Aditya. Let me pick someone else then. Aman Gangwar, are you there? Aman Gangwar, not there? Okay. Uh, then who? Uh, Nitesh Singh, are you there? Nitesh Singh. Okay. Mm, ba Badawat Sai Prasad.
Sir, he's reporting to the institute today, so he might not.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, two guys sent me an email. Sorry. Uh, Pankaj Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Rohan is one, and yeah, Rohan is one, and Shashank is one. Ayush. Okay. Yeah. Whose name did I just say?
Sir, Pankaj Kumar.
Yeah, Pankaj, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Pankaj, are you ready to be a shepherd?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Okay, so then he's the fifth shepherd. Okay, Ayush, you can simply note down his name. Okay, so we have 5 shepherds now. The first lecture that we had on that day was basically introduction to C. Let me just check what all things I talked about. Introduction to C 2.3. What did we talk about? Okay, this was basically the first program of this, right? And okay, let me write down some questions in a Word file, and we'll start from there. Okay, this is a very interesting lecture actually. So let me start. Mm, Start from here. Okay, let me also share my screen first. Okay, so I'll start with some questions here, and shepherds, you can simply pick them up. Okay. Mm, you can start, shepherds. Okay, I'll keep on adding more questions. Shepherds, you can start with the question, and I'll keep adding.
Okay, so in C we got the common data types as the integer, the double, the float, and the character. There are the primitive data types that we have in C. Any other shepherd would like to contribute?
And if you guys have any queries, just start firing them. Okay.
Yeah,
I add something.
yeah, sure.
In char data type, it is restricted to use only fixed number of alphabet, right?
I think your question is not clear.
Sir, in char data type,
Hmm?
alphabet entry are fixed.
What are you trying to say actually?
Mohammed, just type it on the chat. We will read it. I think there
I
is
think
some
he's
problem
trying
at
to
your
say
end or
like,
internet.
why only 6 digits in a number. I think that's a question on the space bytes, number of bytes. For example, like int variable will be taking like I think 4 bytes like that. So I think the question is about that.
Is this your question, Mohammed?
Yes, sir, I'm writing.
Okay, right. Type it. Okay. Anyone else with a question? Please start.
What is the purpose of signed and unsigned data type?
Just so you get the positive and negative signs of uh, the input, we have the sign and unsigned. The sign, I guess, has an extra bit for the sign. I guess, sir, can you answer if that's correct?
So basically, it is like this, guys. This is actually, I thought we'll discuss it at the end, but so this was a part of your homework, where you had to figure out. So it's something like this. When we have a so in computers, we only have limited space to store anything, right? I mean, even though you can work with very large numbers, right? So in mathematics, you would have read that the number line is from minus infinity to plus infinity, but we actually cannot store all the numbers from minus infinity to plus infinity in the amount of someone's mic is on. Mohammed, I guess it's your mic. Mohammed, I'm not sure what exactly is your question, but I'll just come to your question again. I think your answer is already there. String. It will be there when you go in different weeks. Okay, so basically, there is first of all there is nothing as unlimited. Everything has limit in computers. But you can have practically unlimited strings where your strings could be very large with the help of character arrays. Okay, so this is a lecture for the current week. Okay, we will discuss it tomorrow, but for now just assume that a char data type can only store a single character. Okay, so A or B
Okay,
or
sir.
C. Okay. So yeah, let me go back to the question that someone had. So the issue is that the amount of space you have in computers is limited, right? So let me give you a very simple example. If I have a single bit, right, what are the values that it can take? It can either take 0 or 1. So it can only represent two states, right? So the amount of information that I can store in a bit is just like it's just either of the two numbers, 0 or 1. If I keep two bits with me, I can store either 0 and 0, 0 and 1, 1 and 0, or 1 and 1. So basically there are four possible states that these two bits can represent. Similarly, if I have 3 bits, it can represent 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 up to 1, 1, 1. So there are basically 8 different states that I can store in a 3-bit storage. So similarly, if I have an n-bit storage, the maximum number of states, the maximum number of different values that it can save are only 2 to the power n. So whether it is an integer, whether it is a real number, when you have only these many amount of states that are available to you, you have to start using them a bit intelligently. So what happens is, in a typical scenario, your int data type ranges from somewhere to 2 bytes to 4 bytes. Okay, so 2 bytes essentially means 16 bits, and 4 bytes essentially means 32 bits. So this means that whatever you can store in an integer, it can you can store a maximum of 2 to the power 16 or 2 to the power 32 integers. That is it, right? Now sometimes what happens, when you're especially working in real world, uh, okay, so I've got some emails that people are not being able to join the webex. Is it the issue? I mean, what is the, you should be able to join, I'm not sure. uh, Anyhow, so basically you have a limited number of states uh, which you can represent, right? I mean, in any integer variable, it could be either 2 to the power 16 different states or 2 to the power 32 different values. So now what people realized, that sometimes we actually don't need negative numbers at all, right? So for example, uh, if you are working with real world quantities, so basically I'm asking people how many marks you got. So now in there is a good chance that you would never get -1 as marks, right? The minimum you will get is a 0. So this is the idea, that if you are only, okay, so that person got in. So the minimum number of the minimum value that you would require to store in that variable is just a 0, not below 0. So what people realize, that because we can only have a limited number of possible states in any variable, let us also have for certain cases, I will not store the. So what happens is something like this: you have to dedicate 1 bit to storing the sign of your integer. Okay, so basically, if it is 0, it means that it is a positive number. If it is 1, it means it is a negative number. So out of the 32 bits, only 31 are used to store your actual value, and you only have like one, so you use up 1 bit for storing just the sign. So then people realized, for certain cases we can actually increase that, we can also use the same bit, and this will actually double the number of values that you can store. Okay, so this is what happens with you when you use unsigned integers. So when we say unsigned, it means that it is not a negative number, it is always going to use a positive number. So now the whole range, which is something like -32,700 something something to plus 32,000 something something, it actually gets shifted to 0 to 65,000 something something something. Again, it is the same storage space. What you do is you use one bit that was being currently used to store the sign 0 or 1, and you simply say, no, now I'm going to use even the sign bit as a bit to store values. Does that make sense to anyone? Or I mean, is it clear? Who asked this question? Is it clear?
Sir, me. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I wanted to ask that, sir, by changing only one bit, how can the storage become double? I
How
mean,
how can
how can the range of the integer becomes
very good. Okay.
trouble?
So let us take a simple example. Let us say you only have 3 bits. Okay. And in 3 bits, I am saying that the first bit, if it is 0, it means a positive integer. If it is 1, it is a negative integer. Okay. So now I have 2 bits left. What are the different states that these 2 bits can represent? 00, 01, 10, 11, right? So essentially what you get now is that there are 8 possible values that you can represent. You can represent, so if the first bit is 0, the other 4 states are 0, 1, 2, and 3. Similarly, if the first bit is 1, it becomes -0, -1, -2, and -3. Now I understand that uh, 0 and -0 and +0 are basically the same thing. And this is something that you will realize, that this representation that I just told you, it is not exactly the same representation that they use in computer science. Okay, this representation is known as the ones complement representation. This is in ones complement representation, you have two representations for 0. Okay. And this is why it is not used in computer science. We use something known as two's complement representation, but you don't have to understand it for now. Just assume that you have 2 states for 0. Okay. So now if I say that so what are the numbers that I can represent here? I can basically say -0, -1, -2, or -3. These are the 4 negative numbers that I can represent. Or 1, +0, +1, +2, +3. So these are the 8 numbers that I can represent in 3 bits. Now assume that I say that my numbers will always be positive. I don't need to store uh, I don't need a bit to store the sign. So now what I can use is, um, uh, the first number is 000, the second is 001, the third is 010. So essentially now your range becomes 0 to 111. 111 is basically 7 in decimal. So now instead of your range being -3 to +3, it becomes 0 to 7, kind of doubled, right? The positive number range gets doubled. Why? Because if you add one more bit, you basically increase your storage, and that bit has to be on the left hand side, not on the right hand side. If you add a bit to the right hand side, it will only but yeah, even then, overall number, it becomes the same. So yeah, basically you add either on left or right. What you do is, whenever you add a bit, you increase your number of states by 2. Is it clear, guys?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so whenever you add a bit, you increase your range by 2. This is a simple concept that you will understand over a period of time. Yeah, so Sanskriti, this is the idea that there is something known as two's complement representation. Okay. If you guys are probably too early to know what this is, you will read more about two's complement when you do a course on switching theory. So there is a way in which we interpret these bits, and there are two ways to do that. One's complement, whatever I just told you, is the one's complement representation. It is the simplest to understand. There is another thing called the two's complement. Yeah, so that then in two's complement you will not have a problem that what this means. Okay. Then you should know how these things get interpreted, right? In two's complement, there is no um, uh, there is no ambiguity. Okay, I'm not going to discuss two's complement in the lecture, by the way. It's too advanced to discuss it here. But yeah, is the question clear? How does the unsigned things work? No.
Yes,
It
sir.
is also for storing numbers. Okay. Um, so basically, a negative number can be stored as a two's complement of its positive number. This is the idea. Okay. So if you have a number I, and basically you want to store minus I, you basically take the two's complement of I and store it. This is the idea. Okay. Let's just drop it now. Okay. Yeah. Somebody had a question. Sorry. So let's go to the next question, guys. By the way, the first one is done. Does anyone have any queries related to data types? What exactly are data types? And you have to remember only four for now. Okay, char, int, float, and double. There are probably others, but for now, just understand that these are the four. In 99% of cases, you will be able to do whatever you want with simply these four data types. Okay. Any questions about it, or shall we go to the next
Sir,
question?
is it required, sir, every time we represent an integer, there should be a bit for plus or minus?
First of all, that is not up to you. Okay, I mean, the how you represent it is something that is on your computer's architecture. Okay, so that is why you never say please use one's complement or two's complement to store my integer. That is something that your computer manages. What you can tell your computer is, I am not going to, this is a unsigned integer, unsigned as in I'm only going to use positive numbers. So
Yes.
in that case, your computer can actually manage your storage well, right? So now your range for storing positive numbers increases. That is it.
Sir, by default, the integers are signed.
Yeah, by default, integers are signed.
So then why we use the signed data type
By
by
we
default? Then, sir, why we use the signed data type if by default they are signed only?
so because by default it assumes the general case that your integer can either be negative or positive. um, if you know by your use case that you are only going to use positive integers, then you have to tell it to the compiler explicitly, right? By default you can't assume, right? So if I meet a human being, I can't assume that person is going to be a man only, right? It could be a male or female. But if the person is male, then you'll have to basically tell me beforehand that you are only going to meet males, something like this, right? I mean, I don't think this is the best example, but this is the idea that if you declare a simple integer, the compiler doesn't know whether you are going to use it for positive as well as negative values or just for positive values. So then it assumes the general case that it could be positive or negative. Okay, any other
Oh,
queries?
Yes, so like in a data type, why memory takes different value in a different compiler, like 2 bytes in Turbo C and 4 bytes in other code
See,
block like this.
um, see, it's something like this. Uh, this is the problem with C, that when it first came on scene, um, the actual amount of main memory we used to have was limited. Okay, so that is why they started with a very conservative approach. They had a short data type as well. It is still there in C, but I'm not sure whether it is of any relevance now. Okay, so short used to be a short integer. So in the original version of C, int was 2 bytes and short was just 1 byte. Okay, so that was basically equivalent to a char, for example. So the idea was, in the beginning they were trying to create a language where memory was important. But as time progressed, they realized that memory is not no longer the problem, right? You can basically allocate, in theory, you can basically start allocating 4 bytes to integers and 8 bytes to double or whatever it is, right? I mean, it's no longer a problem. So this is why you have different versions of C, which has which allows you to have different sizes for your variables. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
like then keeping more size will decrease the compiling time.
No, the compilation time doesn't care. Doesn't it is not affected. What happens is when you run the program, it simply requires more memory. That's it. Yeah. Any more questions related to data types? Okay, so let's move to header files then, guys. Start. Yeah, I mean, over to Shepherds.
So now, in while coding, you need to specify some functions in the code, like the printf, scanf, or even if you include some extra libraries, that is the mathematics library, you can specify the square root and the power function. So these are just the things you write just above your code, that is your hash include, and followed by your header file name dot with dot h extension. These are just the collection or the libraries of the functions which are defined by some other people, which you can just directly include in your code. So that makes the things easier. Now, every function has to be predefined with a header file before you can use it while coding. Header files are just collection of various functions.
Yeah, like this that if we want to take standard output input statement, then we have to use the header file studio.h, and like that if we want to use mathematical library function, then we have to use header file known as math.h, like that.
ब्रो
And
यार तो आंसर करना कि व्हाट आर हेडर फाइल, इस बारे में बता कि व्हाई आर हेडर फाइल है ही क्यों?
These are used because we are using some. Okay, continue.
नहीं बोलो.
बोलो बोलो बोलो.
Actually, these are header files are used because we are using some others function. These are made by some other, like printf is printing something which we are not giving input. It is already made previously.
Every functions need to be predefined, and the header files are there for defining the what those functions do, which I have written in our code.
See, basically, if I do not include the mat.h, we have to write a function. If we use a square root function, then we have to write a code of square root itself. And if we use a header file mat.h, it is predefined in it that it have a function square root. So basically, if we do not want to write a code for square root, then we can use it. That's why the header file came into force.
And while compiling it using GCC, you need to define the header files which you have included in the code. You cannot just include math.h and then simply compile with GCC and get your output. You need to first specify which header files have you included. For that purpose, we use -l switch. The L switch we have also have to include which header files have we included. Like the M is for the maths.h header file, so we have to include -lm while compiling the code as an optional switch. So the compiler knows that we are including linking other libraries as well. Any other shepherd would like to contribute to the LM switch?
Can you please explain the LM switch again?
Go on.
Basically, when you compile using GCC, you have to specify the header files which you have included to the compiler as well. You have to tell that I have included linked this header file in the code, and so you have to link it while compiling. So for that, we use like GCC and then space, then your file name dot c, which is whatever it is, and then you have to add -l followed by the shortcut of your header file. That is, M is for the math.h header file. So you add -lm for including linking the mathematics header file. Simply, if you have included some other header file, you also have to include it to the GCC, specify to the GCC that I included it.
Okay. And what is the meaning of switch in LM switch?
Every Linux command has some switch. Like the ls has -a, -l. So similarly, GCC also have some optional switches which you can use to more specify your instructions more precisely.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any some like we can also do manually for squaring any number? Is there any manual way to print? Like printf is also a function.
What is your question? I don't get it. Sorry.
Actually, we can do manually also, no? Like in squaring any number without
Squaring, or do you
using
mean
any header.
square root, you mean?
Like we are using square. We are using a header file for that for
I guess
getting a shortcut in.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Sunny. Okay. I mean, it's just a convenience for you. You can use it as a convenience, but you can always write it on your own as well.
So then, is there any like that way? Is there any process for printing printf function manually?
There is, but for that you will have to study a concept called pointers. Okay, that we will do later in the course.
Okay. Okay. Sir.
Now, while writing any mathematical expression or by assigning any, any expression, any length in the expression to an variable, we must be using some multiplication, division, plus, minus operators with it, so that every operator has a precedence. It is a hierarchy of precedence. Like the division has higher precedence than the multiplication, then the addition, then subtraction. Similarly, like the Bodmas rule we studied in arithmetic, it is kind of similar to that. So it follows a some hierarchy, that is the precedence of operator. So always the division will be done first, followed by the multiplication and so on. And in case of a similar precedence, if an operator doesn't have any precedence over the other, we simply go from left to right calculating.
Any
Is that
queries
okay?
related to operators? Another thing that I must tell you is that I have not put questions that are specific to printf and scanf or sqrtc because the idea of this course is not really to make you a C guru. Okay? The idea is to teach you programming concepts through C. Okay, so exactly, we are not going to spend too much time on specific syntax related things, right? So, for example, what is the format specifier for float? What is the format specifier for this type of data type, that type of data type? These are all syntax related things, right? So you can always, if whenever you want to know what is the format specifier for a specific type, you can go on internet and search, and you'll know the answer. The idea is that there are, in every programming language, there will be usually a method, a function which is similar to printf. Okay, so this is the idea that when you when you give some output to the user, what you usually do is your output consists of a message and certain variable values. Okay, so this is the idea you have to pick up. The exact syntax is not important. You can always go and check it out. Okay, the exact syntax of scanf, that too is not too important. You can always check it out. And in fact, this is what for we will have the labs. During the labs, you will get a chance to practice your syntax. But basically during the lectures, the idea is that you pick up the concept. Okay, so if I give you a C program, you should be able to explain it to me that okay, these are the variables. I'm computing something here and then I'm outputting something here. Okay, you don't really need to remember what is the format specifier for int and what is the format specifier for double. That you will anyhow pick up over a period of time. You will simply learn it implicitly, because if you use it 10 times, you will just, you will remember that okay, for percent d is integer, percent lf is double. You will just remember, but it is not necessary that you remember these things. This is the idea. Okay, what you have to understand is the art of programming. How do you write a program? So in the beginning you have to collect all the inputs. So you either assign them explicitly, as it was the case in the first program, where I simply gave a equal to 1, b equal to 2, c equal to something. Okay, so you can either give these values explicitly, or you will have to use a mechanism to take these values from the user. So this is the concept you have to learn. Then you have to do some computation. Now during the computation, almost all languages, you will have this issue of operator precedence. Okay, so just understand what operator precedence means. What exactly do we mean when we say operator precedence? Okay, so just if you have any queries, then go ahead.
Sir,
Yeah.
so the precedence of operators, sir, it is just like BODMAS or sir, in this C plus it use braces or brackets, sir.
So it is similar to BODMAS, because what does BODMAS teach you? BODMAS teaches you that if you have an expression where there are multiple operators, it simply teaches you that you should uh, evaluate this operator first and this operator next. This is what BODMAS teaches you. So operator precedence is a kind of it does kind of the same thing, that when you provide your programming language a particular expression to compute, it has to find out a way, right? I mean, not all the operations will happen in one go. So some operation will happen first, then the next operation, then the next operation. So it's just that programming languages have this concept that they basically say all these are operators, slash, asterisk, plus, minus, equal to, double equal to, all these are operators. They operate on some operands, and then these programming languages say that we will define a rule, okay, which will say these are the operators we are going to evaluate first, and these are the operators we are going to evaluate next. Okay, so this is the overall idea. The idea is still BODMAS, but now you have far too many operators there. It's not just just the arithmetic operators. There are logical operators, relational operators. There are something known as bitwise operators. We have not talked about them. I'll talk about them at the end, because so what I have done is there are certain topics which are probably core topics when it comes to teaching C, right? But that I am not teaching, because my idea is not really to make you, as I said, a C expert. Okay, the idea is that you should learn how programming is done. Then all you have to do is just learn syntax for a new language. Okay, so I am not going to stress too much on syntax related things. Okay, of course you are expected to learn it on your own by practice, but I am only going to teach you basic concepts. So the concept that you have to understand is, in every programming language, you have to understand how its operators work. Okay, and what is the precedence? Usually in most of the languages, you will have this similar precedences. Okay, so the precedence order that you see in C, um, it will be more or less the same in all the other languages as well. So yeah, I mean, it does give you an advantage if you have some idea of where these operators lie in the operator precedence. But as I said, whenever you are in doubt, just simply use parenthesis. Parenthesis has higher precedence than all these guys. So whenever you feel that okay, I'm not sure whether this plus will be evaluated first, or this star will be evaluated first, or this slash will be evaluated first, just start putting them in parenthesis. Okay.
Sir, this week's lab will be dedicated to C only, or bash will be
No, bash won't
included?
be there. Just C.
Only C.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So any more queries on operators and operator precedences? Okay, it looks like yeah, go ahead.
Sir, result will same for both, sir.
No, it won't be. That is what I was going to type to you. Um, so the result will be dependent on, as I said, right? So for example, in BODMAS, you will do the division first and then the multiplication. But in C,
Yes, yes, sir.
but in C, both division and multiplication are at the same level. They have the same precedence. So whichever is encountered first from the left, that will be done first. Okay, so if you have an expression
Yes,
like
sir.
this, let me write something on the chat. So if you have an expression like this, if you have an expression like this, BODMAS will tell you that it should be executed like this, right? You execute uh, B divided by C first, and then whatever is the output, you multiply it with A. This is what BODMAS will tell you, isn't it?
Yes,
Now,
sir. Yes.
here what will happen is it will be evaluated like this. Mm, okay. Now, as I said, it depends, right? In which overall it will be the same in this particular case, but you cannot guarantee it, right? There might be some expression in which this actually changes, especially when you have mixture of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. When you start mixing them all up, this guarantee will not be there. Is it clear? So this is basically how it will finally be. Sanskriti, you have your mic on. Um, so this the idea is this, that your computer is going to evaluate it like this. It doesn't know the bot mass rules. For it, uh, multiplication and division are exactly at the same level. Okay, whichever it will encounter first, that will be executed first. Okay, so that is why I said you can always come up with some scenario where uh, you know actually, even in this case, Shashank, it will, B by C will be evaluated first because slash has higher precedence than plus. So what happens in C is they have tried their best to be as close to BODMAS as possible, but it is not BODMAS. This is what I'm trying to tell you, right? Uh, when you start adding plus and star and slash everything in the same expression, there will be certain cases where the output will not be as you expected. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say. Okay, then there is any other questions related to operator precedence? Okay, actually this got earlier, this we have basically covered both the lectures. So now I'm adding one more question. I thought we won't have time, but let us just ask this. This is actually okay, I should not do this. This was a part of your homework. You have to do your homework on your own. I will not, if you have a questions. Did anyone do the homework, by the way, uh, in these two lectures? So let me also tell you, the homeworks will be something like this. The homeworks will be more dedicated towards your C syntax. Okay. The lectures will be more dedicated towards concepts, and the homeworks will be more dedicated towards syntax. So let me give you a very, let me give away a very tightly kept secret, that in your labs, when we'll have labs, labs will be heavily dependent on your homework. Why? Because they are going to be a syntax lab. You are going to write code in C. So in the lab, it might be beneficial if you have done the homework. Okay. So this is the idea, that the lectures are going to be about concepts, and more or less these concepts will actually be applicable to all programming languages, not just C. Okay, we are just going to use C as an example. Um, but in lectures, what we will talk about is a more general thing. Okay, the general programming concept.
Sir, can you
Uh,
repeat what did you said about the lab?
oh yeah, you finally woke up, is it? Uh, so what I'm trying to say is that uh, the homeworks, right? The homeworks that we give that I have in the at the end of your lectures, they are actually more dedicated towards the C syntax. So I told you one very simple thing, right? That the lectures will be more about concepts, right? So that is why I did not discuss printf in detail. I can have a complete lecture dedicated to just printf, but I don't think that is necessary because I'm not trying to make you guys experts of C. Okay, that is not my idea. I'm just trying to teach you the art of programming. C is just one of the tools that we are using to do that. And if you want to practice syntax, you can do practicing in the lab, right? So in the lab, you will practice syntax as well. There will be concepts, and then you'll have to learn this syntax of C. So what happens is the labs will be mostly based on your homeworks. Okay, I mean, of course, that it will be covered. It will be covering a concept that was there in the lecture, but labs will be something that will be very heavily based on your homeworks. So is it so now there is a motivation for you to do your homework? Is it clear? Okay. Any other things, guys? I think we are now running on schedule. The extra lecture that we will have today, we will discuss the conditionals in C. And again, the idea is that you should understand that there is something like conditionals in programming languages. No, Anurag, this week's lab will be based on these two lectures mostly, 2.3 and 2.4. Okay, this will be a small lab as well because I haven't taught you much C. This week's lab will also be a simple 1 hour lab. Um, you can use any editor, Rohan. Okay, I don't care about the editor. What I really care is you should know how to execute your programs from Bash. You can write it using any editor, but once you have saved your program in a .c file, from there onwards you have to use Bash. Okay. Um, so this is the idea. This week's lab 2 would be a small lab, a 1 hour lab. A very basic C program would be there. Um, yes, Sanskriti, something like that. Uh, Something on that point, right? Go do your homeworks well, and then you should probably be fine. Uh, okay, and yeah, so I think we are running on schedule. We have What is the time for your extra lecture? It will be, I think,
Sir,
is it at
4:30
2
to
or
6, sir.
yeah, 4:30? Okay, so we'll meet at 4:30 again, guys. By the way, we have 2 minutes left, so uh, let me just show you some very simple commands in Vim. I have 2 minutes. I can actually show it to you, because a lot of people are asking me about Vim. So I'll just evening class will also be 1 hour, Ayush. Uh, it will basically be a in lieu of your Wednesday lecture. So that will be just 1 hour. Okay, so let me just like show you some very simple Vim techniques. So this is how you do it. You just do Vim space the name of the file. Okay, then what you do is by default you cannot add anything to this. Okay, um, if in order to do that, in order to write some text, you have to press the I button. I means insert mode. Okay, so now I can type something here. Now, what happens is when I press escape, the escape key is on the left uh, top. Then once, uh, yes, once we'll decide upon the time tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Uh, so, so now you are currently in the insert mode. In insert mode, you can neither save your file nor exit from the editor. So the first thing you have to do is press escape. When you press escape, Now you are okay. Sorry, I press I again. So when you press escape, now you keep on typing anything, nothing will be typed. Okay. So now after pressing escape, you have to press colon. Okay, the semicolon key, but with a shift colon. And if you want to save this file, the command is W for write. Okay, and if you simply want to write and quit, you have to do WQ. If you simply want to quit without saving, you have to do WQ, but then it will simply say no write since last change. So add slash to override. So basically that is the same warning that you get in editors, that you have written something but not saved. So in order to do that, you simply do colon Q and this. So this was just a simple thing to take, but you have to go through the Vim tutorial. I can't teach you Vim like this. Okay, so so yeah. Anyhow, this is the lecture for today. You guys are now free. We will meet at what 4:30. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah, go ahead.
sir, can we copy, sir, the code from that we written in Visual Studio in Windows to, sir, Bash, sir?
Yes. Let we'll talk about it in the lecture 4:30 at 4:30.
Okay, sir.
Okay, guys. Bye. And please put your attendance. It is still open.